Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Commentary's Magic Stream on today's Sunday, April 19th, 2026. I am, as always, Grand Buzz.
Big Cheese, our cat, and
I'm Andy.
Where's Woody and Buzz?
Alright, I was going to ask if your name was written on the bottom of the Toys boot with a backwards N.
I wish Ivory would be here sometime. It's been a while since I've seen that guy.
Yeah, he sucks anyway.
Hates us.
Trash pony, not even good at this game.
Disagree. Smokes me with thorax. Hiss. No hissing aura?
He'll be hissing at some of these cards we're about to look at.
I mean, he probably will.
I have been advised to refrain from hissing, at least for a short time.
Well, whoever told you that is not letting you live your best life.
Or they're trying to protect your vocal cords. One of the two.
I'm trying to protect everyone else's eardrums.
Yeah, fair. All right. We're back to roundtable discussion today. Mostly because as part of planning for these streams, we will often get into off-the-wall, off-topic tangents and try to think of angles or elements of the game that we haven't touched on or highlighted recently. And one thing that came up was this idea of the design philosophy, not behind individual sets, but more behind the blocks themselves. For those of you who have been playing since Premiere, you've been on the same wild roller coaster ride that the rest of us have. And so you've seen the ups and the downs and the bumps and the broken tracks and the free falls and everything associated with it. And you probably have your own opinions on what sets were what blocks were the most fun to play, which ones were most exciting to be around for as new sets kept getting released, all of that, and we'd love to hear about that in the comments, obviously.
Some of those metas in between there were kind of wild, and some of them were kind of garbage.
A little bit, right? Both buckets are definitely full here. But what we're talking about is not set reviews, not even block reviews. We're going to take this opportunity just to chat and share our thoughts on what we think the designers were trying to do for these different blocks. For those of you who have not played a lot of card games, collectible card games, that is, it's worth noting that, generally speaking, for a commercially released product, cards are not designed in a vacuum. You're not sitting there saying, all right, we need to make the 200 plus cards for Premiere Set, and those are the only cards that we're thinking about, and now we've locked in those 200 cards, and we're done, and now let's move on to Canterlot Knights, and we're going to ignore everything else that came before it, and we're going to ignore everything else that comes after it.
Well,
I say usually. Do you want to kind of lead us off on why you made that sound there, Ara?
Not yet, I don't think.
Not yet?
Soon.
Okay. So, with future sets already being in some early stage of development, usually most commercially produced card games are going to be keeping that in mind even during the earliest design. But it is a new game on the market. MLP was, for many people, their first competitive and first collectible card game.
Hi.
Sure, right? For many more, it may be the first one they had where there were actual locations within the game, as there were very few games that had done this up until this point. It wasn't the first one, but it wasn't common. it's the first game that had that I can remember that focused on increasing a point total instead of decreasing a point total in order to win. And so, if you were to ask me, and I want to hear, everyone else's thoughts here, if we were to take a single word to try to sum up the design philosophy behind Premier Block, I would say it is foundation. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and a bit exploratory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, foundation's a good word to go with. There's a lot of, we haven't tried this yet, let's do this now, sort of things going on, especially in those first two sets.
I think I'm going to be a lot meaner and go with rushed.
This was also, well, I was going to say, it may feel rushed, but that you can usually tell which ones were rushed through, because, I mean, how many cards were in Premiere? Like 250 plus?
Yeah, it was a massive set. And every one of them stayed that large through EO, or at least very close to it.
Yeah, they were all fairly large.
Now, when I'm talking about foundation, I'm not saying that the designers sat there and went in with a perspective of, all right, we're going to start the game off on, exactly this foot, and this is what we want the game to look like, and then, next set we're going to expand from this, and the game's going to change like this, and the next set it's going to change like this, and we're going to keep going from here. Yeah, they definitely had plans a couple sets out, and were in early design or early playtesting at those points. But there's a key distinguishing factor about Premier set design, at least up until AD. And that is that for at least the first 2 to 3 sets, the people who were in charge of designing it were working on a team with individuals that had incredibly mixed levels of design experience. There were people who came from the game design industry and had numerous titles already under their belt and were excited to be able to, try out new things on what was effectively a blank canvas at that point. And there were other people who worked for Interplay, who had done a lot of the toy distribution and licensing and other elements of that side of Interplay's business that had never been involved in game design before. Or if they had, very, very minimally. And I don't think anyone here would disagree when I say that it shows.
Yeah, a little bit. So one of the kind of interesting things for me is if you, and this is obviously dating myself horribly here, the, 1998 Decipher Star Wars card game.
Mm-hmm.
I believe has a lineage to Pony.
It does.
Yep. And I think the prequel card game, I think that does too.
The Star Wars prequel card game?
Yeah, it had the locations and stuff, and I think one of the people that worked on that also worked on the Pony card game.
Mm-hmm.
At least there's a heavy amount of influence here.
Right. So those elements are very visible and very apparent. But there's also things that give indication that this was maybe a first pass for a few members of that team, and it was the largest team that existed for design for the duration of the MLP-CCG's lifespan. There were more people involved in design for the first few sets than there ever were for sets after that point.
Yeah, because it is the hardest to get started, of course.
Right. Now, there were some things that maybe weren't doing the designers any favors, like core fundamental rule structure of the game not even necessarily being understood or clearly defined before cards were having to be sent or finalized for print.
So there's a couple examples of this, although personally I think it's most interesting to talk about this in terms of something that happened, about 5 months before the official release of the game.
Okay.
Gen Con, 2013, I believe. So 5 months before Premiere hit the streets, had demo decks. And this is one of the cards from the demo decks. Now you look at this. Okay, like, it's clearly related, but there's a lot of stuff that's different here. The wording's different, the iconography's different. I have unkind comments about some of the font choices, but you can see that this is obviously an ancestor. But what is this language? Man, this is weird.
I love
Play
placing
next.
next to your turn card. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because it's like, what's home?
You may now use an action token.
Just one. How many times can I do it? I don't know. The card says I may use an action token.
Play a, that's the symbol at the time for resource, and draw a card. You must do both for 1 token.
Is this going to allow me to bypass the cost of other resources? Do
Who-
all resources cost 1?
Who knows? Why do I need to do both? Is drawing a card a bad thing? Because it's mandatory, and that seems kind of weird. But
So this is what it's coming from. 5 months prior to the official release in January. Or I guess it was late December, but whatever.
yes. I believe it officially launched in December 2023?
You mean 2013?
2013.
Look, it's been a while. Yes,
It's still March of 2020.
correct.
Yes, exactly. Now, there were numerous symptoms of new design within this game. And I should mention, before we go into the details on this, this is nothing that is exclusive to ponies. Don't make us out to be sitting here bashing the game at the beginning. Yeah, everyone looks back and can clearly identify where the power level was and some failed design experiments that took place in Premiere, but the same thing happens in almost every collectible card game to some degree.
Hey,
Don't
let's,
worry, Caillou. You're coming. Your time's coming
Your time's-
soon.
Yeah, and then let's go talk about Magic and Magic's anti-rules.
Right? Even excluding the rules, even forgiving for a moment the fact that Yellow Parasprite was that much more unbeatable when you couldn't just have a problem face off and get rid of it, right? You've got things like inconsistency in the represented value of common effects. If I laid out all the cards from Premier Block and let you look through them and see what they did and see what they cost, and I said, how much is drawing a card worth?
1/3 of an action.
Let's talk about drawing a card.
You would have no idea what drawing a card was worth. If I asked you, how much is 2 power on a friend worth, you wouldn't be able to answer that question thoroughly. Right?
Because there's so many different answers to that just within Premier Block.
Exactly. There's an overly conservative approach to cost versus power of cards that are remaining in play, friends, resources, all of it, right? Rule breaks, that is the fundamental aspect of the game where you have a rule structure and then every card breaks those rules in one particular way, right? They're either very, very basic, go look at the keywords that were used in the Premier Block, right? They're
Random.
very simple.
We
They're
still
very-
don't know what inspired means.
We mostly know what it.
We mostly know it. They're either very basic, they're very niche with things like supportive
Random one.
or prismatic, right? Is another one that comes to mind where, yeah, in this little tiny subset of cards, it might do something, and outside of that, it does nothing, right? Or they are incredibly broken. I think we've got a couple of images that might be able to sum that up pretty clearly.
Well, let's start off with the what were they thinking end of the scale.
All
I'll
right.
have you know, this card saw top whatever play in
Yeah.
Continentals.
Yeah, as a meme,
It is technically true that this card saw top tier competitive play in the same sense that
That might have only been at BronyCon.
why are
actually.
you running 51 cards where the 51st card is a Sunset Festival?
right?
Because I can.
It's a good card.
Look, it draws you a
This
card.
is not.
This is not.
By Magic standards, this actually wouldn't be a terrible card. It draws you a card. That's actually really good, right? Drawing cards is good, right?
Actually, and I think this is the wrong. I was not looking for Buried Dreams. I was looking for the one from, is it Canterlot? What's the one that has both players draw?
Oh, ew.
Yeah, that one.
It's even worse.
I know, that's why I wanted to put it up.
Oops. Okay.
It is from Canterlot, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Is it not? Is it from Crystal Games? Oh, no, it is. It's Sassaflash. Striking.
Yes, that card that is striking in how bad it is.
This one. This is the one I was thinking of. Okay.
I
This is
cannot
good.
put that on screen easily.
Okay, that's fine. Here, I will just link it in chat. There you go.
Oh my
right.
god! It has to enter play at a
Wait,
problem
I
and
didn't
then
even
shuffle.
remember
You
this.
shuffle your
This
deck?
is so bad.
How did I? It's a rare too. That is the most insulting part. Is that
I don't
it's a
think
rare.
this card ever saw play.
This is actually very good that we showed Buried Dreams, because Sassaflash is the thing I meant to show, but now you can see, looking at the comparison between these two cards, which one do you think came first? You're gonna be surprised.
All right, let me see if I can make this work.
Uh,
This is kind of important, actually.
Sorry, I got my pink 201 cantripping friends mixed up.
There she is. Okay, yes. Look at this thing. Look at this. It's also cheese. No, her wings are coming out of her butt.
oh my god.
Oh, I'm never gonna be able to unsee that now.
They were like, they can't come through the clothes, so we'll just move them back. We'll just move tools, shift.
Yeah.
Uh,
This card is a piece of work. It really is.
So
Okay.
we've got this.
Right. Now
Going from Buried Dreams to Sassaflash, mind you.
let's talk about the other end of the scale. What are they thinking?
Yeah.
Same set, by the way.
hey, this one has wreck. Like, the
This-
wreck just makes it okay.
This one does have wreck. But you know what happens if I get 2 of these out before you get above 2 tokens a turn?
You get no tokens for the rest of the
rest-
game.
Correct. Oh, that's unfortunate.
The Royal Guidance decks.
I loved them.
And this did happen. Like, pretty sure it happened at Everfree 2014.
This has happened multiple times. Guidance Counselor lockouts used to be like the thing. Cannot recommend.
So Premier is not necessarily the Wild West. They're still pretty conservative with design. They're starting to try a couple of things, but even when the design team is, trying to get a little bit more bold, a little bit more zesty, it's pretty narrow in terms of what's happening until we get to one set in particular, still within the block. But by this point, some of the design team has moved on to other roles, and we're starting to see something resembling a cohesive plan for how Enterplay's design team sees or wants the game to take shape. And that's with Absolute Discord. I think that if you were to offer a sealed booster box of any of the first 4 sets of the game to any person who has played it for any length of time, 9 times out of 10, that person is going to pick up AD, because at the very least, that set was playable. By itself, playable. Don't get me wrong, playable cards in older sets too, right? But now, instead of messing with these weird super set specific keywords and themes and mechanics, we never saw supportive again, right? We never saw prismatic again. We never saw crystallized again. Not really, anyway. AD says evergreen keyword right here. Did they know it at the time? That's up for debate. But they
Which
gave
one?
it
Chaotic?
chaotic.
Yeah.
Or key phrase, right? They gave it to every color in pretty much equal proportion. And more than that, they understood that face-offs were going to be an integral part of the game, and they wanted this unique aspect of this game in particular to be influenced or manipulated or interacted with in a way that really hadn't been done that much up until this point. And I can tell you right now that AD was by far the most fun I had playing in Premiere. In Premiere Block, rather. Cheese, what about you?
For which, sorry?
When did you have the most fun playing in
Oh.
Premiere Block? Was it after the addition of AD or was it before it?
I mean, there was that stupid meta that existed for a while after we had Rock and Rave.
Dragon Express was the thing. That's actually hard to say because, like, just Premiere's, the set itself had so much brokenness in it that somewhat got enabled by later cards, that there was kind of always something fun to do.
That's a good point.
Because, like, Dragon Express was just Crystal Games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if, like, it really was all combo that we had fun with back then. If you kind of ignore the combo side of things, yeah, there just wasn't much until AD.
I mean, you were getting into Cosmic Bowling at that point in time with some additional support, right? The Penny Hooves engine was really doing work when you had Xerox copies in there. You had some additional tools to help a few of the standout aggro decks. Ballroom Blitz and Pegasus Explosion, I think, we're still doing especially well. Orange Pink had started to show what it was going to be capable of doing with Buy Some Apples. We were getting into different types of control. You know, we saw the orange-white F-stop popping corn, stopping corn control list coming up. I think the big thing that AD really also introduced was, man, you wanted to farm? All right, we got you.
That's the point at which we started to have enough density of epics to hit critical mass and make farming truly viable.
I think Rock and Rave made things interesting.
It did. Like there were multiple interesting points along here, like the Pegasus Explosion Ballroom Blitz era that kind of turned into diamonds, like Glass Cannon aggro, where it's we need to see how fast we can go.
I think an interesting perspective from Premiere is like, if we're going to say, oh, we're going to do a draft or a sealed game, I think even sealed is the more interesting one here, is like, oh, Premiere block, and everyone's just like, no, please not, let's not.
Yeah.
Now, if you do a sealed and you're like, oh, we're going to do a few packs of Premiere or a few packs of AD, I think people are like, oh yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just like, nah, it's just going to be, there's
we're going to do 10 packs of Crystal Games.
Oh, please, no. Ugh.
Okay, like that's also solved. It's okay, who pulled the fastball special? All right, cool, you win, get out.
I mean, kinda, yeah. Now, it's worth noting, AD still wasn't, no set is really perfect, right? But AD still had some of the same symptoms that were present in earlier sets. There were still cards in AD that had costs and abilities that were far less impactful than they probably should have been, given what you were having to pay to make it happen, especially compared to other cards that either already existed or were about to exist.
Well, so yes, but remember, this game is not just about constructed. It's also about limited, and yes, every set is going to have some cards in it that are not great, because those are necessary for limited.
True. It's also probably worth noting, AD had one of the best limited experiences we had had up until that point. Not only was there finally, what felt like to me anyway, enough entry to go around, especially compared to like Crystal Games, which that is an abominable set to draft. More than that, though, having all these chaos effects in a limited environment where deck sizes are small and you're actually pretty likely to see one of them trigger made deck building a lot more unique.
I don't know. I'm told I'm weird for this. I still enjoyed the Canterlot Knights era draft environment, mostly because that was basically solved once you figured it out.
It was. Would you draft it alongside Premiere, or would you draft it in isolation?
I know, it was 2 and 2.
Right, and that's why. If you've ever tried to do just straight Canterlot Knights,
Bad idea.
It's abysmal. If you have support with Premiere, I agree, it is solved.
Yeah. And the solution, of course, is the Canterlot Knights Rainbow Dash main that has Swift on its boosted side, and I cannot overstate how busted that is.
Or just pull Spring Step for the 15th time like I did for all our limited events.
Gross.
All right. So, anyway, we got to get over to the next couple of blocks. So, we've laid a foundation for the game. It's a little rocky, but
there's a trajectory, there's a player base. It's clearly able to host events and people are having fun. What's next?
Innovation is next. If we've got the core rules established, let's push them a little bit. Let's see what we can do. How can we continue to break the rule structure of the game in ways that are more interesting and more broadly applicable than before?
Well, let's talk about what we've got right now. It is very, very difficult to make a monocolor deck unless you are going down the I'm just going to sit here and farm route.
Right.
To confront a problem with, I think, one exception, you must have 2 colors. So every deck is 2 colors right now.
At least.
At least, yes. So guess what 9 of your cards are? That's right, entry.
Mm-hmm. Your options for entry are also pretty limited. We've got the resources from Crystal Games that have utility outside of just allowing you to play, and we have the resources that turn into friends from AD, but they're low power, so they're not used quite as much. But otherwise, you're stuck just hoping that you've got a vanilla entry friend with cost and power that is acceptable, because up until this point, it still wasn't symmetrical.
Oh, and then just in case you forgot these existed, we had the +1/+1 fixers that no one knew how they worked for like a set and a half.
Mm-hmm. So how are we going to mess with that? Well, you mentioned every deck up until this point, is having to run 2 colors separately to be able to confront problems. Well, if people are already running 2-color decks, let's give them even more of a reason to. Let's start printing multicolor cards.
Multicolor friends, events, and resources. But let's also go the other direction. Why should you need 2 different colors? What happens if you only have one? What if you just really want to focus on being extremely blue? Why are you blue? For an amazing reason. It goes fast.
Because your name is Emmy. Or wait, is Emmy green? What will Emmy say, Emmy? Yes.
The Blue Pony server has judged them blue.
Excellent.
This is a very strange side tangent.
Yes.
But
so,
here we go.
I don't know if we can pick a better card to represent the design team and design philosophy of EO's block more than Soprano, for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is how much innovation was taking place on this card, right? It's one of the first multicolor friends that was spoiled. It even is technically hinting at a keyword that is about to come in the next set that hasn't even been released yet, and that is hasty, right? That last ability is effectively hasty.
Yep.
We've got new traits that are coming in here. We've got cost-efficient bodies. Recs are being kept low on a lot of these cards, so you can actually get into them pretty well. It's almost like Trading Traditions was there on the horizon. It wasn't, right? All of this is great, except for the other part.
Well, there's a couple of other things that aren't just mechanically important here. This also represents a huge rework of the art style. This is
Much
an ultra
improved.
rare. This is full art. Look
That's
how
true.
pretty this is. This is shiny. Like, they put some effort into this, and it's beautiful. But I think you have a story to relate, because we were there on the Gen Con floor when this happened.
We were there on the Gen Con floor when this happened. They were showcasing a few spoilers. I remember specifically they had the colorless Smooze friend, and they had Rarity. And this is the first time people had seen Immediate. And I believe they were showing... Were they showing the other multicolor combinations as well, or was it just this one?
I believe it was all of the ultra rares, actually.
Was
Yeah, so
it?
they-
Okay.
So they
Yeah.
showed all the ultra rare. And somebody, after about 5 seconds of looking at this, said, "Hey, where's the pink-orange one?"
Why do you have a pair of... I think it was a pair of pink whites?
Yes, because Sugar Bell was there too.
Yeah, why do you have 2 pink whites? What's going on here?
Oops!
And what happened at the time was Dalton looked at the printouts on the table and basically went, excuse me, I have to make a phone call.
Card is
Too
the wrong
late.
color.
Yep. So,
Because this ability is not really a white ability.
no, it's not. It never has been, but it hasn't stopped Pink-White from wanting to run it, because it breaks the color pie!
It's also just good.
It's
Yeah,
just good.
it is. It's very good. So, yes, we are working with a design team now that is willing to push into uncharted waters. They want to try breaking the fundamental aspect of how the game is played in ways that haven't been done before. Let's do multicolor, let's do monocolor, let's do immediate, let's do, coming in the next set, cards that can be activated from hand without being played. We've got far more power and cost equivalency within cards, making so many more of them more playable than anything that we would see in most of Premier. And it makes the limited environment also very interesting.
I think this is my probably second favorite limited environment. It's significantly more fun because it's not actually solved. The High Magic Equestrian Odysseys environment. I think it is actually my favorite.
It's pretty fun. Now, it's pretty fun up until you get to Marks in Time and you start doing the pack drafters. And I have opinions about those pack drafters, and I have opinions about Marks in Time as well.
It's entirely based on the mains, right?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
you
It's
find
all
out
about the mains.
you find out very quickly that you don't do that because Scootaloo is just busted, and even if Scootaloo isn't around, Blorange is still going to steamroll.
Correct.
Now, I do want to
Balancing.
go into
That's
High
hard.
Magic and say that some of the stuff in there shows real innovation. Hey, remember how annoying it is to get, like, just look at this set, it's like full of entry, this is like whatever. And then it's like, no, we have friends that are both entry in terms of you can banish them. And they do something cool if you play them. It's a dual use card that's actually very good both in constructed and in limited.
That's an excellent point. Up until then, when we had cards that did have abilities as part of entry, it wasn't symmetrical. Tank from EO still got played for years because we hadn't gotten to a full cycle yet of let's make entry friends that also do something.
Yeah, like the whole Premier era was, your T2 entry was like a really good card.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you go back to Premier, it's like, oh, I'm playing pink, so I have to save up for this 3 cost 3 power Apple Brown Betty because that's my entry.
For me, it really felt like EO and Odyssey Block was the first time they were like, we're gonna let cards do things for reasonable costs.
Mm-hmm. Cards should not feel bad to play.
That's a shocking development.
It kind of was.
It was in the middle of EO Block that we also saw the first confront bonus rule change, right?
That was in High Magic with the advent of dilemmas. Or no, that was Marks, right?
In between High Magic and Marks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe that actually changed until it was very obvious that dilemmas were going to require the change. So internal testing may have had that change, but the way people played didn't change until the set released effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was one of those things, a little off topic, but like seemed so obvious, should have changed earlier. Because like it was a problem even without dilemmas. But
I mean, it made games go too fast, and it made something like Ballroom Blitz sit there and be like, how about I go ahead and do a 7-point swing off of 3 to action token? 4? 3.
it also created the face-off check-in where it's like, well, I actually don't want to double confront because the bonuses have already been taken, and
If I
don't want to give you fresh bonuses.
yeah.
Right.
That's
the face-off chicken gameplay was still strong.
Yeah, that's another one of those significant changes in the game's history where it reflects a fundamental shift in how the game was meant to be played. When you are afraid to commit to a problem face-off, there is a problem.
Yeah, aggro should be aggroing.
Rewarded or at least not punished for doing for what it is supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you touched on it here regarding the rules change, but yeah, we're still talking about innovation even in terms of like card subtypes, right? Dilemmas didn't exist before EO Block. This was a brand new thing as well. So
What if we had more than 2 problems?
Like it is a design team that is, if not fully in its stride yet, it's starting to really test the depth of what it can end up doing, and not being afraid to push the power level envelope. And in some cases, this is a good thing, and in other cases,
the envelope gets pushed through the wall of the magical mailbox, and then we have to ban a card.
Right. Spoilers, this never really stops. Every set gets something banned. It happens.
Yeah.
But what can you do? All right. So, before we move to the next block, it's probably worth talking about what the next block is and what it was. Ara? Where
So,
does EO block leave off?
what is the current date?
Sure, it's, 2018.
2017, actually,
20,
but
2017 or 2018. I think it was still the same.
EO block ends with Defenders.
Now that seems weird.
Is Defenders the start of a new block?
No, it's 2017.
Yeah.
The
But it,
premier block is 4 sets. Equestrian, the Odysseys block, obviously, is 4 sets. So, Defenders, being the 8th set, is part of Equestrian Odysseys.
now, ultimately, this doesn't matter that much because block format is still relatively low on the list of formats that are being played. Core is
really playing it, yeah.
Core is about to be introduced and is going to be one thing that will be, relevant. But it's mostly just leaving off Premiere with the understanding that, this was, a rough patch and the initial foundation of the game, but there are things in there that people are tired of seeing, and that's fine. We can move beyond that. But Defenders doesn't look anything like EO sets.
No, it does not.
If EO was the block of innovation, then I would say that the Defenders block, or Sequestria block, if you want to be nitpicky about time,
Extraordinarily pedantic.
right, is about identification. Not from the perspective of the designers trying to identify what cards were. They knew what cards were. They knew what these colors and these decks and these strategies wanted to do, but that identity needed to be built up more. EO, High Magic, and Marks sat there and said, let's print multicolor cards, and every multicolor combination got the same types of this and the same number of the same types of cards. Asterisk, Soprano.
Yeah. With one notable exception.
Right. But that makes it difficult to actually say, yes, we want blue-white to play like this, and we want pink-purple to play like this, and we want yellow-orange to play like this. When you're stuck to a very formulaic approach across multiple sets.
Right. Like, as soon as you start down this road, you know what you're going to be doing in the next 2 sets. Here's the 5 colors in EO. Here's the 5 colors in High Magic. Here's the 5 colors in Marks. Okay, we're done. Now what? Well, do we want to do this again? No.
Let's try something new. People like the multicolor. Maybe we should do multicolor every set.
We should do every multicolor every set. So this raises some questions like, so now that we have an idea of how these different color combinations want to be played, let's I don't want to wait for 3 sets to have to print, something that helps it out.
Right. Also, we just got done creating this entire archetype support for monocolor as well. We don't want to just leave them in the dust by fully printing the same number of multicolor cards that we had in the EO sets for every multicolor combination, every set moving forward. We can't do giant sets again. We have to go back to small sets. So how do we handle this?
Well,
go ahead.
Make smaller sets?
Well, we've been making smaller sets because EO was the last big set. High Magic and Marks are both smaller, on the order of 160 cards, give or take, rather than the 210 or more.
Right.
So, like Grandpa said, we obviously can't sit here and do this massive set of, what was it, 6 cards per multicolor pair. That's the entire set right there if you do that. So instead we're gonna scale this back a little bit. We're gonna give you 2. But you're gonna get 2 of every color combination.
Every set. And guess what? With very rare exception, that philosophy has carried forward even to this day. Because you know what? It worked. Having small tweaks, small additions able to be made to multicolor sets or to multicolor combinations every time a new set released meant that the card choices for those multicolor combinations needed to be intentional, they needed to be purposeful, they needed to be synergistic if you wanted them to be desirable at all. And so this broader idea of how these colors should play and the types of things that should fall within their color play and how having these 2 colors can bend it or break it a little bit becomes more cemented in Defender's Block. While we are also beginning to play around with this idea of cycles. We're seeing cycles a lot more frequently starting in Defenders and moving forward with entry friends, with new keyword introductions, right? With character art or theme that's on there.
So I think that started to happen even back in the Absolute Discord era, but it really got to the point where it's like, okay, this is definitely a thing that we should be doing and we should be continuing to do. Cycles. If a color gets something, the other colors should get something similar, or at least along the same lines.
And doesn't always mean it's going to be
good or
equally
equivalent.
As good, but...
And you can see this even in Defenders. Every multicolor is going to get something.
Yeah, like Rainbow Dash Loyal Pony is one of those that's just like, everyone got 2/2 no rec, does something when you have another blue friend or blue character or whatever, your color character.
Right.
But like Loyal Pony's so good.
Yeah, and it's not like the other ones are terrible, right? Rarity gives temporary power, which is fine. Twilight can move things, which Control likes doing. Fluttershy bounces stuff. AJ, did she exhaust?
She just exhausts, but the problem is like it's not a bailout exhaust. It's not like for an extra turn. It's just the one exhaust, which things combo with that. But yeah,
sure. Pinky, drew card, which is fine. It's not like she had been doing that forever.
Yeah.
But we also got stuff like the Pony Print cycle, right? And we got stuff like, the new keyword entry. Okay, if we're printing keywords that are going to be evergreen or have the potential to be evergreen, and by that we mean a keyword that can appear in future sets. Again, it's not just restricted to the flavor or theme of one particular set.
Yeah, stuff that keeps getting used.
Right. Then let's make sure that we've got enough of a presence on those among all the different colors. And while this is going on, let's more strongly identify what each individual color is doing and give them cards that really showcase the strength of that. If you look at some of the cards that are being played in the Invitationals tournament right now for Adventure, I would hazard a guess that you're going to find some of the most iconic, most frequently used, most individually impactful cards in mono colors that have ever been printed in this game within that adventure format. Especially Sequestria, but leaders, I'm sorry, not leaders, Friends Forever also did a pretty good job with this. Like, name a blue card. If your mind doesn't immediately go to Night Glider or Plushie Dash, I would be curious to hear what else you said.
I was thinking, where is he? Maybe, that wasn't the last set, but Thunderlane.
Sure.
Last block, but you know.
Same type of thing though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, no, Plushie Dash is up there. Daybreaker's up there.
Yellow, right? This is the era of Kind Pony. This is the era of Bunyip. This is the era of Unsatisfactory Work. This is the era of Day Shift.
This is the era of a certain Neon Bambi.
Yes.
Yeah, so many cards from this era are still big in Harmony.
Look at this one. This one's still impactful. Hey, guess what these two colors want to do? Guess what they're good at? If you showed this to someone back in the Premiere era, they'd probably look at you like you were crazy.
Angel Wings into Angel Wings into Angel Wings into...
I mean, I think we have to at least share the story of Hot Wings formation, right? Hot Wings as a deck concept was formed months before the set actually came out. As several decks have when there's been, extended playtesting that's been going on. But never before have we seen a deck that basically built itself all out of one set. Bluna Pink was one of the most popular multicolor combinations for Bluna back in the day, primarily because that was where a lot of the other Hasty was, and Hasty was relatively limited. And in a single set, more than a single set, the first set that started this new philosophy of let's give all multicolor equal representation within every set moving forward, Bluna Pink got...
Oh, this is one of them. The other one is Spitfire. Like, let's talk about ringers. Here's both of them.
And
same
before
set.
Spectacular. Still played to this day in every version of Bluna Pink that will run it. There's literally no reason not to. We're also not even touching on the fact that Berry Flop was in the same set.
Oh, yeah.
Good times for me and bad times for the opponent.
Or bad times for
And
you
this
in
is-
case your opponent had it too.
Yeah, and this is really why this is just like... It felt like a big change.
It was a big change. This set was just crazy.
Because I think the argument that you can really make here is that at this point the game knows what it wants to be, and it's about developing what it wants to be. It's about strengthening that identity.
I agree. Where would White's, control identity be without the inclusion of Miss Main? Where would Reanimator be without, Big Twy? Where would Hot Wings be without Angel Wing Spitfire? All of these things. Where would Thorax be without literally his entire deck?
In the garbage where he belongs.
But of course, the problem that we run into is as we are playing with a large card pool, and it's taking a while, longer and longer for new sets to go out, the meta is starting to solve itself, and it's starting to get a little bit more entrenched. Yeah, there's new development every time a set comes out, but a lot of the same engines and archetypes are sticking around, and there's some concern about what that's going to look like when Interplay continues developing sets. Well, they fixed that problem by stopping developing sets.
RIP question mark?
RIP question mark. So at the beginning, it was, how long did we have with just the Premier cards? 6 months, if that?
Yeah, it was not long.
It was not. No, Canterlot Knights was out by May, I want to say.
Because, like, BamsCon was right after Premiere came out.
Yes.
And
yes,
then it was like 2 months later or something
Yeah.
we had.
So it was like late May that we had it. We're now at like a full year in between set design. Or at least getting close to it.
Yeah, because what was it? Because Everfree 2015 was effectively on top of the Absolute Discord release. So 4 sets, the entire Premiere block in a year and a half, maybe a little more.
And you wouldn't even have 2 sets of that in Defender's block. Things were slowing down.
Well,
Nobody is surprised. The fandom's been out for a while. The show's been going on for a while. The game is past its initial hype phase. It's fine. These things happen, right? Also, Hasbro's making it very difficult to, run any type of actual organized play.
yeah, there are some stories there that if you talk to the right people at cons, you will hear some stuff.
Right. But people still like playing the game. And hey, the Star Wars people were creative enough to find a way to do this, so we can do it too. So let's make a set.
How hard
More-
could it be?
More than that, let's make a block. So, Leaders and Legends block, I think we have to... I would use the word exploration in this one. The Defenders meta is a little bit stale. This is a big set of firsts, right? It's the first print and play set. It's the first set that's going to introduce format rotation. So there's a lot of unrefined and experimental design.
Is it actually the first one? Because Sequestria did force a block rotation.
Sequestria did not force a block rotation. Sequestria introduced a new format but changed nothing about Harmony.
Okay, that's fair. Core popped into existence as a consequence of that.
Correct. But for the duration of its existence, all core legal cards were core legal. And then we got up to 8 sets. Or 7 sets. And said, it's a little much. So, Leaders and Legends was also my first set to design. I can tell you exactly when I started design for this. I was training with the company that I left 1 week ago, and I was covering for one of the managers down in Monterey who was on paternity leave, and his store was very small, and they did not get that many customers, and it was mostly making sure that there was somebody there who could keep the ship going and open and lock up. And so I sat in the office on a spreadsheet and did set design.
And accidentally to set on purpose.
And accidentally to set on purpose. And I can even tell you what the first card that I designed for that set was.
Is it this
Zim.
one?
It is not this one. Thank God.
Don't leave us hanging.
Patagium was the first card that I designed for that set.
Huh.
Not a bad card to start off with.
I wanted to tweak something with entry. And that was how I approached design for a lot of this set was, hey, I know that these colors have always done this, or I know that we've always had entry cycles that looked like this. I asked the question, what if this card or what if this color did something it isn't supposed to a lot? And hindsight being 2020, that worked about as well as the new design team with Enterplay trying to lay out the foundation for the game at the beginning. In that, in some cases, they found cards that had cool effects and were desirable to play and made people really excited to get them. And half the time, those cards were very busted and were very broken and became eventually problematic. And the other time, there was stuff that was just bad. Just really bad. I'm sorry for that, Zecora. I'm sorry for Creepy Crawlies. You know,
I'm not sorry for Creepy Crawlies. That's a great card.
It's great.
What's the issue with Creepy Crawlies?
You use it to horrify your opponent. You don't actually use it for its gameplay value. You just show them the picture.
It was intentional to kind of have a power level reset at the time that Leader's Block was being introduced, because Defender's Block, especially late Defender's Block with Friends Forever, had pushed it so hard. And in doing so...
Mistmane.
And stuff like Daring Do and...
Meadowbrook.
Old Money.
Yes.
I miss Old Money.
I miss Meadowbrook.
Yeah. In doing so, I was trying to, and everyone who was helping with design and with playtesting at the same time, we were all trying to get these new things to work, to try to push the game in another direction intentionally, and that's probably too much of a heavy-handed approach. But it did lead to some different archetypes and some different playstyles being established that, while it took a while to catch on, eventually stuck around. I picked Celestia for this example because this was a card that was technically within Purple's color pie, but didn't really do a whole lot that Purple cared about that much. Purple didn't need a big power friend because it wasn't playing aggro a lot of the time. Well, turns out if you print 4 sets worth of aggro cards, it'll eventually play aggro.
I mean, there was like
aggro with an
attempts
asterisk
earlier at giving Purple a way to do that.
Sure, right? Moon Dancer, right?
But yeah,
mostly pink purple.
It needed critical mass.
Right. And there were other things that were going on too. You know, what if colors that hadn't had removal suddenly got to have removal? Or what if, you know, not every blue card just became instant conga line stuff and we focused a little bit more on some of the controlling aspects, or, you know, what have you. So...
Hey, can pink have resource removal?
No.
Sure, here's Winterzilla.
Yes. Pink can have resource removal. We have resource removal at home. Actually, we don't have resource removal at home. We have resource removal at that problem. So there were still elements trying to not go completely wild, but we tried to explore this space. It was probably more reminiscent of Premier Block than it would have been EO, in that we were trying different keywords. A lot of those keywords only really ended up existing within the particular set, even if the keyword was decently well received. Unity was confusing, but it was fine. Talented was cool in theory and poor in execution. The cheerleader cycle was some of the best art that I've ever seen Aura do for a card, and I love watching that speed paint version of Gallus cheerleader being created. That is still fantastic.
He's a pretty boy.
He is a pretty boy. But I'm not making another cheerleader card.
No.
And that's
No.
okay. Because we started handing off some of the reins of design to you. With design a card panels and design a card prizes for Continentals. And with the introduction of supplement sets with Prize Wheel, the game was able to be adjusted and tweaked with greater frequency without requiring a faster, more demanding release schedule, which I'm sure Aura's sanity is very appreciative of. In that all of us would have suffered burnout, but especially him far, far earlier had that happened. And so once the supplements were designed and we had kind of pushed a few colors in different directions, well,
And patched up some
Gen-
holes and some other stuff. And
sure.
there was a, I don't know, 5-year-long period where time didn't move at all.
Yeah.
Eventually said, well, it's time for something new. We're out of content.
And then Hasbro was like, you know what, it's time for something new.
Hey, look, new pony. And we got a movie. And the movie was pretty good.
Yes, it was. Terrible they never did anything else with it.
Yeah, it's a shame they never continued.
As you use something that has art not from the movie.
I don't know what you're talking about. We get into new generations. And it's, again, kind of echoing a lot of the lessons that Enterplay's design team had already learned before we started doing any of this. Now we're looking at set design from a block long or a block wide perspective instead of just in that vacuum, right? Keywords are going to get support across multiple sets instead of just being featured once. Intended design directions for particular colors might not be immediately visible in one set by itself, but that also means that we don't have to bounce around every time a new set comes out if the last 2 multicolor cards we tried didn't work and say, well, let's push the color in another direction. We've got longer term, focuses, longer term theming plans. Power level is still a bit subdued compared to some of the previous things, but overall, it's creating new ways to interact with the game. Magic counters are definitely an evergreen thing that can continue to be, and I would expect to see on cards moving forward, regardless of whether or not it's a major set theme. We've still got cycles, right? We're still leaning heavily on the template of sets that Enterplay produced when it comes to multicolor and monocolor cards and ultra rares and all of that. We're trying new things with some cycles that had existed. Songs are still present, but what a song looks like from set to set is varied.
Right. We've done a couple of other things. Problems especially. We've said, well, what we can do here is more than what we've ever seen in the past. Why don't we start making cards that favor one color? Or cards that say, I don't favor this color. In fact, you shouldn't be using this color with this card. And I do think you have to give us a little bit of credit on Leaders and Legends specifically, because, I'm not entirely sure that we thought we were going to get away with it.
I mean, you're not wrong. That was a tremendous group effort from art selection and card design and proofing and design suggestions and testing and all of that.
Well, more than just that, we did a lot of work to put the thing together, but all of that would have been for naught if it wasn't for the community accepting it as the torch being passed and the game continuing. Maybe not in the same way that it had in the past, but certainly continuing.
I mean, that's a great point. I remember the powwow that we sat down and had with people at BronyCon, at the last BronyCon, and kind of felt out answers for what would you want to see if such an event came to pass. And got some answers that definitely molded how we approached design for that and future sets.
Right, because I think we had... That was in... I think that was 27... Was that 2017 or 2018? Maybe it was 2018. We had one card. I think it was... What was it? Was it Goose Luna?
Mm-hmm.
That got passed around. Just as a... Here's a spoiler. Right? And it didn't have the set symbol. All we said is, here's a preview card. No one at that point knew that, or what was actually going on, until Cider Fest.
Right.
When
and then the cat was out of the bag.
At the conclusion of the tournament, we launched the set.
Literally had the full binder for people to look through if they wanted.
Yeah.
And so, that's a great point, Aura. None of the design for Leaders and Legends or for New Generation would be there, or any of the lessons learned, were it not for the community watching this now or later who gave us that shot and had the same passion for this game and the people and the events and the travel and the cons and all of that that we continue to enjoy. Which is why, even still, over the next couple of weeks, there's high-level tournaments taking place between people who have been enjoying this game for over a decade now.
And more than just that, there's people putting on little tournaments in the Discord. Like, anyone can do this even. It doesn't have to be us. And I actually would go to the point of saying, I encourage this. The more opportunities people have to play, the more times people will play. Like, yes, that's a tautological statement, but it's true.
You are right. Seeing Silver Spanner come back after how many years was so cool. And I thought it would be a flash in the pan, and it's kept going for months. And it's been, my understanding is it's been changing hands in terms of who's picking rules or who's organizing things.
Anyone can run a tournament.
It's true. Well, we've gone long on this one and waxed poetic for a bit. So, I think we should probably wrap up our discussion on this topic for today. We would like to give a big shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your regular support. If you aren't currently a patron and you enjoy what we do, please consider donating, as doing so enables us to continue making content like this and lets you earn some great perks as a bonus. If you have common questions you'd like to send our way, feel free to reach out to us through Facebook, Twitter, or email. If you're a patron, you can also chat live with us on the Sim Discord any day, anytime. Finally, if you're looking to watch any of our previous videos, including tournament recordings, you can find them on our YouTube channel, linked just below the stream. With all that said, thank you to each and every one of our viewers, both here now and watching this recording later. We are, as always, Commentary is Magic. I am, as always, Grand Pause.
Big Cheese.
Aracat, and...
I'm Griffith.
Who?
Andy. Oh my
Andy?
God.
Wow. I was like, there's no way that's who he okay. Thank you, Ivry.
Recognizes that song.
I do.
I do too.
At
Okay.
least 2 or 3 people do.
Dating
Yeah.
yourselves here.
Yeah, a
Wait.
little bit.
I
That
just
was
called
the-
myself out.
That was like the 50s.
I'm
right?
younger
Yeah.
than all of you.
Yeah, why are you making an Andy Griffith reference?
I don't know. Why am I?
Because the tune is a bop?
Yeah,
Anyway.
right, fair. You can see that we've clearly lost it.
Alright, bye.
I never had it.
Correct. Bye-bye.